Climate change is one of the most pressing issues of our time. It is a phenomenon that affects every corner of the planet, from the Arctic to the Amazon rainforest. The impact of climate change on Earth is undeniable, and it is a problem that requires urgent action. In this video, we will explore the impact of climate change on Earth. We will look at the causes of climate change, the effects it has on our planet, and what we can do to mitigate its impact. So, what is climate change? Climate change refers to the long-term changes in the Earth's climate, including changes in temperature, precipitation, and weather patterns. These changes are largely caused by human activities, such as burning fossil fuels and deforestation. The effects of climate change are already being felt around the world. Rising temperatures are causing glaciers to melt, sea levels to rise, and extreme weather events to become more frequent and severe. These changes are having a profound impact on the Earth's ecosystems, and they are threatening the survival of many species. In the next segment, we will explore the causes of climate change in more detail. The primary cause of climate change is the increase in greenhouse gases in the Earth's atmosphere. Greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, trap heat in the Earth's atmosphere, causing the planet to warm up. The main source of greenhouse gas emissions is the burning of fossil fuels, such as coal, oil, and gas. When we burn these fuels, we release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which contributes to the greenhouse effect. Deforestation is another major contributor to climate change. Trees absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, so when we cut down forests, we reduce the Earth's ability to absorb greenhouse gases. Other human activities, such as agriculture and transportation, also contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. For example, livestock farming produces methane, a potent greenhouse gas, while transportation produces carbon dioxide. Natural factors, such as volcanic eruptions and changes in solar radiation, can also contribute to climate change. However, these factors are not significant enough to explain the rapid warming of the Earth's climate that we are currently experiencing. In the next segment, we will explore the effect of climate change on the Earth's ecosystem. The effects of climate change on the Earth's ecosystems are far-reaching and complex. Rising temperatures and changing weather patterns are causing significant changes in the distribution and behavior of many species. One of the most visible effects of climate change is the melting of glaciers and sea ice. As these ice masses melt, sea levels rise, which can lead to flooding and erosion of coastal areas. This can have devastating effects on both human communities and wildlife habitats. Warmer temperatures are also causing changes in the timing of seasonal events, such as the flowering of plants and the migration of animals. This can disrupt the delicate balance of ecosystems, leading to declines in biodiversity and the loss of important ecosystem services. Climate change is also causing ocean acidification, which is having a significant impact on marine ecosystems. As the oceans absorb more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, they become more acidic, which can harm marine life, particularly organisms with shells or skeletons. In addition to these direct effects, climate change is also exacerbating other environmental problems, such as air and water pollution. This can have further negative impacts on the health of ecosystems and the species that depend on them. In the next segment, we will explore the impact of climate change on human societies. Climate change is not just an environmental issue, it is also a social and economic issue. The effects of climate change are already being felt by communities around the world, particularly those in developing countries. One of the most significant impacts of climate change on human societies is the increase in extreme weather events, such as hurricanes, floods, and droughts. These events can cause significant damage to infrastructure, homes, and crops, leading to food shortages and economic losses. Rising sea levels and coastal erosion are also threatening the livelihoods of millions of people who live in coastal areas. Many of these communities rely on fishing and tourism, which are both vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. Climate change is also exacerbating existing social and economic inequalities. For example, women and children are often disproportionately affected by climate change, as they are more likely to be involved in subsistence agriculture and have less access to resources and information. In addition to these direct impacts, climate change is also contributing to other social and economic problems, such as conflict and migration. As resources become scarcer and competition for them increases, tensions between communities can rise, leading to conflict and displacement. In the final segment, we will explore what we can do to mitigate the impact of climate change. While the impact of climate change on Earth is significant, there are steps we can take to mitigate its effects. The most important of these is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions requires a shift away from fossil fuels and towards renewable energy sources, such as solar and wind power. This will require significant investment in renewable energy infrastructure and a shift in government policies and incentives. In addition to reducing emissions, we can also take steps to adapt to the impacts of climate change. This includes measures such as building seawalls and other infrastructure to protect coastal communities, developing drought-resistant crops, and improving water management practices. Individuals can also take action to reduce their carbon footprint, such as by using public transportation, reducing energy consumption at home, and eating a plant-based diet. Finally, it is important to recognize that climate change is a global problem that requires global cooperation. This means working together to develop and implement policies that reduce greenhouse gas emissions and protect vulnerable communities. In conclusion, the impact of climate change on Earth is significant and requires urgent action. By reducing greenhouse gas emissions, adapting to the impacts of climate change, and working together on a global scale, we can mitigate the worst effects of climate change and create a more sustainable future for ourselves and future generations.